Dr. Castleberry here with part I don't remember of our week 3 video lecture wrap-up show. I'm taking questions and formulated some responses, try to keep my thoughts straight, and we are moving along at an Oregon Trail pace, right? So don't die of dysentery on me. Hang in there. We're going to keep rolling. We've got some questions from John. And John asks about regarding social media memes. Danisi text, page 271. These memes, as we label them, actually can be quite comical. Are these memes just a trend, or is this the way we will eventually be communicating? Dun dun dun. Due to this form of communication being brief yet comical, are we as people looking for something simple, perhaps? And it's like to look to the future, let's look to the past, right? Aristotle, one of his most assigned readings, like often cited works, include an essay on what he called the enthymeme. I'd encourage you all to at least read the cliff notes of that. Is it cliff notes or cliff's notes? I don't know. Fortunately, I didn't use a lot of Cliff's notes. Although I remember using Cliff Notes for The Grapes of Wrath in grade school or high school or something like that, right? That is one long book. I'd highly recommend John Ford's film version, although, it's brutal, sad, and tragic, as I, smile through it. And fun factoid, Ford actually shot a scene in that movie, cinematic adaptation of The Grapes of Wrath in my hometown's downtown. You can see the courthouse. We're famous! All right, so back to the enthymeme. Okay, are these just memes? Are we heading this direction? So Aristotle wrote about the enthymeme, and essentially a meme is a cultural shorthand for a rhetorical argument. And audiences, in order to understand it as a rhetorical argument, that it is a series of signs and symbols, words, visuals combined together to relay a message. And that an argument doesn't mean it's trying to pass some law. It could be being convinced of the argument means you find it funny, right? You're agreeing with it in a humorous way. Audiences, however, must be able to perform proper textual analysis in order to unlock its meaning, right? We're all searching for meaning in life. They must unlock meaning accurately interpret, as well as appreciate the humor for the meme to work, to be rhetorically effective. Okay. John asks, in the book Spreadable Media, does the phrase, if it doesn't spread, it's dead, apply to anything or only certain things? And if it applies to everything, should we utilize it to our own benefit? Let me take the first part of that. In reference to anything, I don't think they're just throwing it out there. The authors specifically are assessing media here, and they're looking at media patterns. And so we don't want to recontextualize anything. We have to take it in the context with which they're framing their media for the model to be effectively understood accurately. But so they are trying to have a discourse about media patterns. But to answer the second question, if the spreadable media model holds practical utility, then why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we try to adopt or practice a similar model? And don't we? Once we become sort of aware of that, of its commonplace in society. Okay. Would Super Bowl commercials be considered a form of spreadability if we use the same explanation as question 4? Well, I skipped over question 4. Hang on. It doesn't matter. Bottom line, Super Bowl commercials. Now, I mean, in a technical sense, we might be the most honest answer would be no. But let's back it up a little bit and recognize that the NFL as a league clearly operates utilizing the spreadability model. And they learned this trick a while back. Everything from, of course, it's a live event, and you're generating your interest and your cultural interest and your newsworthiness through the act that occurs live. But then they also have their broadcast, right? They're broadcast on the networks. They're broadcast on DirecTV. They have what you can get subscriptions to. I think it's called NFL Mobile. There was the formerly last year and the year before, or maybe just last year, the Twitter deal. Their Thursday night games were broadcast free via Twitter, so they were streaming it. This year, that contract switched over to Amazon Prime. So looky here. I believe within the DirecTV subscribers, they have NFL End Zone. It's like their premium channel. It's like the NFL version of Cinemax, and they just cut to the good stuff, the End Zone, in between every single game. So you're getting a real hodgepodge experience, and it's also so that you forget that the game has gotten really boring. The NFL Network, of course. There is NFL Radio. They have a huge presence all over Sirius satellite radio, so they're quite aware, and then all of their other nonsense programs and reputable ones, right, that they participate in and partake in, and just tongue in cheek, right? NFL's so powerful and so, magnificent that we can't take them too seriously, right? Don't go there, mind. Don't go there. Let's see. We appreciate the questions, John. Love what's going on there. Ha! Destiny. It was my destiny to return to Miss Jackson's questions. Sorry, Miss Jackson. Okay, Denise's popular culture. Quote, the modern human lives in two universes, that of physical reality and that of hyper reality. What is online about ourselves will define us well beyond our moral lives. Maybe mortal lives. End quote. Is the author meaning that what we put online tells us more about ourselves than how we live face to face? Things that make you go, That's food for thought. Is the author meaning what we put online tells us more about ourselves rather than how we live face to face? When I was reading this the first time, it made me think of the now popularized slogan, this total slang, right? Advent of the recent years, that a relationship is not official until it's Facebook official. And that really digs at me when I think about that. I hear people use that kind of reference all the time. And what that drives at, to back it up larger than just relationships, is anything I do, right? Any act I perform isn't real until I've echoed it online into the digital archives, right, for my audience of friends and followers and stuff. That gets at Jean Baudrillard's concept of hyperreality, this idea of something being more real than real. And not unlike our earlier cameo appearance by Marshall McLuhan's The Medium is the Message, I just so happen to have a copy of Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation sitting around, right? Collecting dust. I'm kidding. Don't let the books collect dust. But let's delve a little bit deeper into what Baudrillard was getting at in his chapter. You're going to love the title of this chapter. The Implosion of Meaning in the Media. Oh, these dastardly theorists. First line of this chapter. We live in a world where there is more and more information and less meaning. That sound familiar? Sound like a world you live in? Just talking about information. Back in lecture, 17. Let me read a couple of, I'm going to skip around a couple of paraphrased excerpts. I don't believe we're taking anything out of context here, but I'm just adding to this thesis on the implosion of meaning in the media. Quote, page 80. Information devours its own content. It devours communication and the social, and for two reasons. One, rather than creating communication, it exhausts itself in the act of staging communication. Rather than producing meaning, it exhausts itself in the staging of meaning. 2. Behind this exacerbated mise-en-scène of communication, the mass media, the pressure of information, pursues an irresistible destructuration of the social. Thus, information dissolves meaning and dissolves the social in a sort of nebulous state, dedicated not to a surplus of innovation, but, on the contrary, to total entropy. Thus, the media are producers not of socialization, but of exactly the opposite, the implosion of the social in the masses. End quote. Once again, for reference, we had that question earlier. Will was asking about references and the difference. Context is everything. McLuhan was writing to us from 1967, just to make sure we're verifying live, right? Live, quote, air quotes live, Simulacra and Simulation, copyright 1981. Okay. So hyperreality. Another question, screen-to-screen communication is, okay, this is a quotation from Pop Culture. Screen-to-screen communication is thus now as much a part of life as face-to-face communication, leading to writing as a complement over orality, not alternative to it. End quote. Is screen-to-screen communication making our communication better or worse? Answer, of course, is different. It's making it different. Perhaps worse in the old way of doing things, and yet better in the new way of doing things. Does that make sense? So screen-to-screen communication might be simply different. It's maybe worse in the old way of doing things and better in the new way of doing things. Food for thought. We will be back with what can only be the final countdown lecture part for week 3. Let's do it.